Hello everybody, Dr. Chris Hoff here with another Kitchen Table Talk, and today we're talking about individualism and therapy. So, Michel Foucault once said that the easiest way to control somebody was to make him an individual. He didn't quite say it like that. What he actually said was, the individual is the product of power. What is needed is to de-individualize by means of multiplication and displacement in diverse combinations. The group must not be the organic bond uniting hierarchized individuals, but a constant generator of de-individualization. It can be argued that we are living in a world of ever-increasing individualism. So it can also be argued that we also live in a world of expanding mind control and growing herds of sheep. I'm sure these folks fancy themselves as individual thinkers, but that's another video. This video is about how the individual ethic makes us more prone to the control of others, discourse, and even many of the problems that get labeled as mental illness. All the stuff that Foucault called dividing practices. Foucault defined three modes of objectification, which are organizing principles that explain how human beings become subjects. These modes are dividing practices, scientific classification, and subjectification. Dividing practices involves the exclusion of people who are viewed as a threat to the community. More about that later. So what does this have to do with therapy? Well, these practices have clients either divided inside themselves or divided from others. Discourse, scripts, cultures, and even therapy often objectifies those who seek our help. All of these subject our clients to what Foucault called normalizing judgment, and no one can escape this sort of judgment. You know what is considered normal and what is considered abnormal. You can see it everywhere in contemporary culture. People's rights are being removed based on this principle as we speak. But back to therapy. In the therapy room, these sorts of practices look like, well, first and foremost, isolation. Ultimately, the function of these sorts of practices are isolation and a sense of powerlessness, but they also show up for our clients looking like not living up to an assigned social role, the role assigned by family, culture, or discourse, not living up to their purpose, whatever that may be, not being their authentic self, and a sense of being out of the norm of what everybody else is doing. All of these situations and many more can be linked back to the individual ethic so strongly and promoted and supported in Western culture. So what can we do about it as therapists? Well, Foucault said we should de-individualize by means of multiplication and displacement in diverse combinations. The group must not be an organic bond uniting hierarchized individuals, but a constant generator of de-individualization. So what does this look like in therapy? Well, Michael White suggested that people often come to therapy with the experience of personal failure, and that this experience of personal failure is the person trying to move away from normalizing judgment and social control in a society swimming in it. And when this is happening, he suggested that first we make these systems of measurement visible through various means, and secondly, that we spotlight the person's resistances to these systems of power. Often these resistances could look like, abandoning the idea of adequacy, rejecting aspirations of superior status, and resisting classifications of people's lives, or resisting of labels, identities, or sanctioned ways of being. Foucault also spoke of de-individualizing through diverse combinations. So as therapists, we should be interested in how to connect our clients to others that might stand with them in these efforts to resist these forms of power. And I want to be clear here that Foucault also said that the group must not be an organic bond uniting hierarchized individuals. And I agree. You see this play out on the right and the left, folks rallying around a community of some sort that ultimately fails, dissolves, or gets corrupted by its own invisible power operations. These sort of communities often create more products of power. This is why I tend to be suspicious of community and prefer the idea of coalitions. So back to therapy. We might counter the grouping of hierarchized individuals by promoting curiosity and coalitions, by circulating stories of clients into a diverse combination of potential witnesses and supporters. And these folks can be IRL in real life or in literature, history, or imaginations. If you spend any time around me, you will often hear me say that no matter what the problem is, it grows in isolation. Individualism and isolation are a product of power, dividing us, pitting us against ourselves and each other. And therapy has to attend to these practices if we are to have any impact at all. Remember, kids, power wants us divided from each other. It wants us isolated and vulnerable. We need each other. So resist the individual ethic. Our world and your mental health depend on it. And remember, don't do it alone. That's what they want you to do.